afternoon to all of our viewers. My name is Edio Wun Alex Kignati, sitting in for our regular host, Dio3 Desmond Aka. I need to remind you that we are live on all our platforms, on Facebook, on YouTube, on GNFS Online. Today we are discussing a very important topic that affects every firefighter. The topic is so intense that it helps to address some of the questions that people have in relations to our firefighting modus operandi. Today we are discussing the challenges that our firefighters face in the execution of their duties. Let's watch a video and then we'll come back. I'll introduce my guests as we delve much more into this very important topic. Good evening, followers of the Ghana National Fire Service page. This is Edio Wun Alex Kignati coming to you live from Sotum, the Heavens Church Road. So welcome back. We all saw what Abochi put our men through, and this is just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to the challenges that our men face. And so today, to help me dissect this issue, is my boss, a clear example of leadership, ACFO 1, Timothy Osafo Efun. Good afternoon, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you for joining us to help us and the viewers better understand the dynamics or what culminates into the challenges that our firefighters face. We're going to look at this topic holistically from the calls to being on the way to the fire scene, and then eventually at the fire scene, some of the challenges that our men go through. So we're going to talk about collapse. What are some of the issues that affect our men when it comes to collapse for fire scenes?
We face as a result of collapse has to do with inappropriate location. Before we move, we get directions to where the incident has occurred. Unfortunately, some people even just call and say, "Oh, fire," and then they drop the phone. If you say fire, let's use Accra. Accra is a very big place, and so if you just call and say fire, where do we proceed to? Others too will say fire at maybe Odoko. Odoko too is so big to locate where a fire has occurred. And so what we expect is that maybe Odoko near the Methodist Church. Then you are giving us a specific location to proceed to. Mind you, if you don't give us the right location, it means we are going to roam and comb around until we get the actual location. Sometimes we don't even get the location and we return to base. And so it is important that once you call, you are able to give us the appropriate location. If you don't even know the right location, give us a landmark. For example, like I indicated, Methodist Church, the mosque, the market. These are landmarks that you can use for us to locate close to where the incident has happened. And so the first problem we face has to do with inappropriate location of callers. And so we advise that once you call, we will ask you a few questions. Just relax, take your time. It will not even take up to 30 seconds. Once we get the information from you, we ask you to drop the phone. And then, meanwhile, once the call comes through and you say maybe Labadi Trade Fair, a fire tender is already on its way to the spot. Whilst we take the additional information that will help the crew to locate the location as well as what is on fire. And so these are the things that we expect from callers, whether you are the victim or you are calling on behalf of somebody because you have observed an incident. Once that is done, we'll be able to get to the location appropriately and deal with the situation. Now, the second issue that we face, or the challenge that we face on our way, you know, most of our drivers now don't even regard sirens. But sometimes you don't also blame them because people abuse sirens in this country. But no matter how people abuse the siren, it is not for you as an individual not to give way to siren. Yours is that once you hear the siren, you go to your right or you move to the right side of the road. The other oncoming vehicle also move to the right side of his lane, and then a space is created for the emergency appliances to move to the location. Once we do this, we have done our social responsibility. If someone else is abusing a siren, it is the responsibility of the police to come in here to effect the necessary punishment to whoever is abusing the siren. And so we shouldn't even contemplate that a car is coming that should not be using siren, and so we will not give right of way to the appliance that is using the siren. Your responsibility is that once you hear a siren, you give way to the right for the oncoming emergency vehicle to pass. Then again, you realize that now most of our roads have potholes, and so it also impedes our movement. The fire tender is huge with a lot of equipment on board, and so if the roads are not good, it impedes the smooth run of the fire appliance to the scene, and so that may also delay us a bit. So these are the first two that I'll talk about. So I'll give you the opportunity if there is any question or clarification so that I do before we move on.
Okay, I think late collapse is also one thing that has been common when it comes to firemen. When we get to the scene and people always say that you're from Mwamumba, and then you try to ask them what time the fire started and what time did they call on the Ghana National Fire Service. How would you want to throw some more light on this difference in respect to that?
Right. I have also realized that in recent times there has been several accusations against us of responding late to incidents or arriving late to incidents. Let me indicate that per our standard procedures or standard operating procedures, the fire tender should not spend more than 1 minute upon a call to a station. And so once within 45 seconds you have not communicated that you are moving, the control room will ask you whether you have you are proceeding to the incident or not, because we expect that a maximum of 45 minutes you should be on your way. And so if within that period we have not heard you communicating, then we'll call you on radio to find out why you have not moved. And so there are checks and balances in here. Now what we have realized is that when incidents occur, people try their hands on the incident to see if they can tackle it before if it gets out of hand, they call the fire service. But especially in life saving and in firefighting, 1 minute is a whole lot of time. And so we expect that immediately, if it is a fire, once you observe the fire, the first action you have to take is to get to a safer place and then call the fire service. Don't say that this is a small incident. You are going to try your hands on, and then if you fail, then before you call the fire service, by which time if we get there, it will be too late for any proper salvage to be done. And so we expect that once you observe an incident, just place the call to the fire service and we will be there in time to support. I have always been saying that, look, the technology that we have here in Ghana is not too advanced like other places where if an incident happens, it is triggered at the fire station for the firefighters to proceed to the incident scene. Gradually we'll get there, but once we have not gotten to that stage yet, it is anticipated that once an incident is observed, it is quickly reported to the fire service so that we can also proceed and get there on time. Mind you, already we have some gaps that we are trying to fill. The gaps are that we don't have adequate fire stations, and so distances to incident scenes are a bit longer. And so if you also delay in calling, then you are extending our response time and you continue to accuse us. Meanwhile, it is not our making, it is you who is accusing us because you didn't call us on time.
So, but we've had situations where people say that Yafra or Monfa and Yafra, the call doesn't go through. Is it true, or how true is it that the emergency lines of the Ghana National Fire Service is inaccessible or unreachable?
Right. There are two answers to this. The first answer is that most people don't even know the fire service emergency line to call. And so they will call different lines and they will tend to accuse us that they called and we were not picking. The emergency line for fire service is 192. And we also have a national emergency line which is 112. And so these are the two lines on which you can call the fire service in times of emergency. The second answer to the question is that most Ghanaians, I don't know whether it is a habit or whatever it is, people abuse the emergency lines. And the emergency lines is like if you have set a call waiting with your phone. If I don't need the fire service and I call, it means the fire service will have to pick me first. If you call and you have the emergency, you will come to be in the queue behind me. And so as long as I waste the time on the line, you will keep on waiting. And mind you, when emergencies occur, even 3 seconds is like 1 hour to you. And so you call and the thing rings within 5 seconds and you drop the phone thinking that we are not picking. It is not we who are not picking. It is your brother or your sister who is on the line abusing the system. And so as and when you who has an emergency to get to us and you call, you will be in the queue behind all those who are abusing the system. And so my advice to the general public is that, look, emergency lines are for emergency purposes. If you don't have any emergency, please don't try the emergency line, because once you do that, you prevent people from accessing emergency services. And so these are the two reasons why people may complain that they called and we are not picking.
Okay, and I know the service is really working hard to crack the whip on people who tend to abuse the emergency line. So this would go as a warning to them. But sir, once this is out of the way, once the calls have been made and our men are on their way. How does bad road conditions come into play during the response to a fire?
Right, like I earlier indicated, most of our roads are getting bad. I also said that the fire tenders are heavy, and so if you are moving, you need smooth road to move. If you move small, you have to brake. You move, you have to brake. The fire tender will take time to pick up the speed, and so therefore delaying the time, the response time from the station to the incident scene. If the road were to be smooth, you move, and because you don't brake, it takes you lesser period to get to the incident scene. But once you brake on the way, it will take several seconds for the appliance to pick up the speed needed to move. And that is the reason why the road condition is also a problem. The road condition, we may also meet traffic as well. There are certain periods and certain roads that when you are using, you always meet heavy traffic. And once you have heavy traffic on those roads, it becomes difficult for the vehicles themselves to also move to the right to pave the way for you. For example, if you get to a place where the traffic is on, if there is no policeman at the traffic point to beckon those who have stopped because of the traffic to move so that the emergency appliance can also have access and move, then they will be stuck in there until the traffic light changes green for everybody to move. Then they can give access to the emergency appliances. And so these are some of the challenges that we face in responding to emergencies.
And we know in Accra and Kumasi, that's the best example I can give now. They don't joke with their funerals or their naming ceremonies and their parties. And in a bid to do so, we often see these people, these party lovers or these mourners block strategic roads leading to fire scenes or major highways. How does this kind of attitude affect us when it comes to people blocking the roads to have their private parties or events in the middle of the road?
Right. This is also one of the challenges that we are facing in recent times. Before any road is blocked, it is incumbent on whoever wants to block the road to officially inform the fire service that this particular road will be blocked for this particular purpose. And this should be done a minimum of 3 days to the incident, so that the fire service can also use that to plan its activities, looking at alternate routes to other locations when incidents should happen. And so the first thing is that it is illegal for anybody to stand up and block any road without informing the fire service. The second aspect is that once you block the road, the fire service may not know that the road is blocked. And so if there is an emergency, emergencies call for you to use shorter routes to the location of the incident. But if you have blocked the road and the fire service is not aware, they may think that that route is still open. They only get there and realize that the road is blocked, and therefore will have to turn round, increasing the response time to the incident scene. For all you know, that may be the only route in that particular area, and therefore the rerouting will take a very long time to get to another lane to get to the scene, thereby delaying the time of the firefighters responding to the emergency. So it is incumbent on all of us to ensure that any time we want to block any route for any purpose, let us officially inform the fire service the period within which the road is going to be blocked, so that the fire service can equally use that in their planning as well.
Okay, so this has been a very interesting topic so far. I'm sure for the firefighters watching, they'll be nodding their head in agreement with what my boss is saying. And to the public out there, they'll be very much enlightened about what they are learning. We'll go for a quick commercial break, and remember, we are live on Facebook, we are live on YouTube, we are live on GNFS Radio Online and all other platforms. We'll be back shortly to continue this very important topic.
How far with your internship?
To be honest, I'm so nervous about starting this new role on Monday.
Oh, please. I know you'll be good at it. You should be worried about what else they have. Example, do they have health insurance?
I doubt they will have that for internet. But no shaking. I have NHIS already.
Ask your son a line, ting.
Ina, look at you. What are you going to do in the office when you can just download the app to register for an NHIS membership?
Yes, my people. You heard right. You can now download and register your membership on my NHIS app. No long queues or tedious paperwork. All you need is your Ghana card to register for yourself and for others. Once you register, you get a new digital NHIS card on your phone. My NHIS app gives you access to credentialed health facilities and services across the country. NHIS covers over 95% of disease conditions in Ghana. Access to healthcare just got easier.
Now let me sign up quickly. Please, Seth, I'm starting work next month.
Fire is an important tool that we use in our everyday life, and it's being used in diverse ways. But this same fire can be disastrous through negligence, ignorance, or accidentally it may occur. When it occurs, kindly call the fire service on emergency 112 or our direct lines to the headquarters, which are 0302 772 446, 0302 779637, and 0303 959561. When you call these numbers, you get us as easily as possible. And then when you call and your issue is about emergency, we have some few questions to ask, such as where is the location of the fire, the nearest landmark, what is burning, your telephone number, and the name of the caller. Please answer these questions so that we'll be able to get your location, the nearest landmark, so that our men will mobilize our men for them to be able to respond as early as possible to save lives and property from destruction. See something, say something, prevent fire. Thank you.
Hi, so welcome back. I was itching to come back from the commercial break because the topic is very much interesting and exciting, and we know it's exciting for you watching out there. So we are opening the phone lines. You can join in to the conversation. You can share experiences. You can tell us what you've learned so far or what you think is the way forward. So you can reach us on 050 960 8744. I'll repeat it, 050 960 8744. You can join us as we delve into this all important topic. So we are zooming straight to another key area of this discussion. That's to do with the obstruction from the public. Let's go back, watch the Abuchi video, then we can be able to throw more light based on what we see.
Abuchi man grind. Oh. Abuchi man grind. Abuchi man grind. Abuchi man grind. Abuchi man grind. Oh. Abuchi man grind. Abuchi man grind. Abuchi man grind. Abuchi man grind. Oh. Abuchi man grind. Abuchi man grind. Abuchi.
Okay, welcome back. So we all saw what Abuchi did. You see, and what Abuchi did is a clear example of what could cause fireman or civilian casualty at the fire scene. And this is not an isolated issue. This is an issue that our gallant firefighters grapple with every day in the line of duty. So, obstruction, maybe we might not meet Abuchi, but we might meet someone else at the fire scene. How rampant or how worrying is obstruction from the public curtailing the performance of our jobs?
Yes, it is becoming, as my friend would say, unbecoming. Firefighting is associated with a lot of risk, and it is to be done by the firefighter. If you have not been trained and the firefighter has not called you to assist, please stay back. Because, for instance, what Abuchi did could have resulted in a heavy casualty on his part. He could have been maimed in any part of his body that would have become permanent. And so we advise that if there is any incident, don't think that the firefighter doesn't know what he's doing, because every step that he takes is calculated to ensure safety. For example, if fire is burning, you don't just put the water anywhere at all for the sake of causing damage or risk to the firefighter. And so you may think that this is where the flame is. Meanwhile, the firefighter doesn't fight flame. He fights the fire. And so don't think that you can take the hose from the firefighter and fight the flames. No, we don't fight flames. We fight fire. And we look at the risk that is we are approaching, so that we don't cause damage to ourselves and to others, as well as the property that is on fire. And so if the firefighter need any support, they will call upon you to support. If they don't call you, please step aside. You know, in fighting fire, a lot of toxics emanate from the fire. You may not know, and you are not protected. You come, you take the hose and go in. You finish and go home. Maybe 2 weeks, 1 month after you started getting some sicknesses. You may not know where that sickness is coming from, but it is that effort you made to help the firefighter, which was unsolicited because you were not invited. You see, most often the public think that the firefighters are slow at their job, or they are not doing the job as is expected of them. So they are strong. They want to do it effectively. But please, you are causing damage to yourself and to the firefighter that you are trying to help. We don't anticipate that you, a civilian, will come into the fire, take the hose from the firefighter with a view to supporting him fight the fire. It is not done. Like I indicated earlier on, when the firefighter needs help, he will call you to come and support, and not you running into it to support.
Sir, okay, so since you mentioned the facts about toxic materials, that's one of the things that is very worrying for firefighters. We see that it brings a lot of effects to them. A lot of them suffer life-threatening conditions. So in this respect, when our men are fighting fire, where contents of a building is undeclared, or they are going in blind, not knowing the kind of obstacles they are facing, how does that also affect us in the performance of our duties?
Right. You realize that if a call is placed to the fire service, we normally try to find out what is involved with the fire. This is to help us prepare adequately before we get to the scene. And so knowing what is involved is very, very important to the firefighter. For example, the content of a fire may delay its extinguishment, or it may help with the quick extinguishment of the fire once we know what the content is. And so if you don't know and you apply the wrong media to the fire, you either tend to cause harm to yourself, or there is going to be a reaction to the medium or media that you apply to the fire. You know, it's not every material that is when on fire or is burning we apply water. Every material and the substance or extinguishing media that we use to fight the fire. And so we don't fight all fires with water. Depending on what is on fire, then it will determine what extinguishing media to apply. Some materials, when you apply water, will give quick reaction. It is either the fire will burn more, the fire will emit toxic substances, or there is going to be an explosion. And so you need to get to know what is on fire, and then you apply the appropriate extinguishing media to extinguish the fire. So this is also one of the problems that we encounter. Once we know what is on fire, it will help us to determine what particular extinguishing media to use, as well as the necessary PPE, what we call APPE, appropriate personal protective equipment to wear. It is not every fire that we use the normal firefighting jacket, which we call proximity suit, to approach. There are other fires, because of the substance that is involved, different equipment, protective equipment will be used. And that is how can we call it appropriate personal protective equipment, APPE.
So I think it goes further to buttress the point, dissuading or discouraging people from obstructing in the performance of our duties, because as we are going in blind, we probably have some protective gears to protect ourselves.
Sure.
But the public is not privy to such protective gears, so they tend to put themselves in harm's way. So please, if you're a civilian watching us, there should be a wake-up call to you that please do not obstruct our officers in the execution of their mandates. Let me remind you that you can call in. It's interactive. We'd like to hear from you. You can reach us on 050-960-8744. 050-960-8744. We'll be glad to read your messages also as feedback, and we'll be glad to answer any question that you might have for us. Sir, accessibility has been a problem. Personally, I've been to fire scenes where our men, the spaces are too small that even Abuboya cannot even pass through, not to talk about a fire tender. How does accessibility at the fire scene curtail the performance of the duty of the firefighters?
Yes, accessibility is very important because the fire tender must get to a specific distance where the fire can effectively be fought. And then more especially in Ghana here, where we have issues with water. The further the fire tender, the more hoses we need to roll out or deploy before we get to the incident scene. Now, each hose, the standard hose that we use here, contains 20 gallons of water. So imagine if you have 10 hoses that you have deployed to an incident scene. It is 10 times 20 gallons, which is going waste. And so this may in turn fuel a certain perception of the public that, oh, they came without water or with little water. So if you are using an appliance with, let's say, 250 gallons, and already you have expended 200 gallons, how many gallons are left for you to do the firefighting? And so it is appropriate that we get accessibility to the incident scene, and that the water in the fire tender is deployed for the purpose for which it is needed, but not to remain in the hose where it cannot be deployed for the firefighting. So accessibility plays a key role in firefighting, so that we'll be able, the fire tender can maneuver its way close to the incident scene, so we don't waste a lot of water, as I indicated. Because one of the challenges too that we face here is constant water supply for firefighting. And once this has come in, let me add that, you see, before effective fire management can go on, we have major stakeholders that help us do our work. One of them is the supplier of water. One of them is supplier of electricity. One of them is supplier of roads. One of them is supplier of proper and effective planning. All these agencies who are in charge help us to do effective fire management. But if these institutions in charge of all of these have handicap, then it goes to affect the performance of the fire service. And so these are some of the challenges we are facing as an institution. And when it happens like that, people don't blame these allied institutions. They blame the fire service because we are the end users and we are the people that the public see. And so they blame us that we are ineffective. But the ineffectiveness is not coming from the fire service, because our counterparts who are supposed to run effectively, for us to also complement and run effectively, have challenges, which goes a long way to affect our output.
Okay, sir, so well noted. So in this case where the water is inaccessible, the water gets finished, how, I believe that there's a way that the unavailability of hydrants close to the fire scene in the SARS, because our men travel a long distance to go and fetch water or replenish before coming back. Is that not valuable time being spent doing that?
Right. So if you realize, for those of us watching or listening, if you have watched foreign firefighting clips, you realize that the fire tenders do not move from the incident scene, because their towns are planned very, very well, and things move on effectively. That is why I indicated that if any of our counterparts has a challenge, it goes a long way to affect our output. Now, if our towns are planned effectively, there will be roads, there will be fire hydrants, and in communities where we have people living, every 100 meters we have fire hydrants that are planted. Not just planted, these fire hydrants have water running with them with the requisite pressure, so that what we do in Ghana here, that we can send 10 fire tenders to an incident scene. Only 2 fire tenders can do that, because we can get the water within the locality to do firefighting. And so it also increases our cost of effecting our job, because like I indicated, 2 fire tenders can do a job that we use 10 fire tenders to do in Ghana. So how effective are we being? It is because our major stakeholders also have challenge, and you can't blame them, because if they are not resourced to also produce, how do you blame them for not giving you, for example, water? You see, so it is up to all of us as a nation to sit down and get our priorities right, so that if it is water, we'll have fire hydrants planted 100 meters with full pressure water flowing,
bouncing and dancing on the bad road.
There is any incident in your locality and the fire service comes, you are sure that the fire
This is what they go through while Ghanaians
deal with the incident that they are faced with. Let me remind you that if in your location or your locality, you wake up in the morning, you turn on your taps and the taps are empty, it means that day, if there should be any fire and the fire service comes, apart from what they brought initially, which is called first aid water, the fire tender, the tank in there is not too big to contain water that can fight fire for like 1 hour. Some of the fire tenders can fight the fire for a maximum of 7 minutes. 7 minutes, the water should be exhausted. And even that one depends on the number of hoses that will be run. If they run too many hoses, it means it may take 1 minute, 2 minutes for the water to be exhausted. So these are some of the challenges as well.
Okay, so, Sankofa Inchi, we have a video about, to support the point you made about, we have a video to support the fact that we made about, or the comment we made in relation to the bad roads. So we watch that video so that it gives viewers a better perspective of what you explained in relation to bad roads when attending to fires.
challenges that confront them in order for them not to be able to do their works or their job efficiently. I'm just going to highlight a minute aspect of it for you to see. Come with me. Watch carefully how the fire truck will be bouncing and dancing on the bad road. This is what they go through while Ghanaians, tax-paying Ghanaians, are waiting on them to save their properties. They have to drive carefully or nicodemously to arrive at their destination. Chefom, look at these roads. How do you expect the fire service to be able to catch up with their response times when there is an emergency or when someone's house is burning and lives and livelihoods are being lost? So you see the car dangling because they cannot go to the necessary speed in order to meet up with the emergency that is happening nearby. This needs to be fixed. This is a necessity. This is not luxury. This is a necessity. And I tell you what, bad roads slow down the fire truck and the ripple effects are so damning. 1. Not catching up with the response time, leading to loss of properties and worse, lives. 2. The fire truck experiences frequent damages which will cost the country more money and also not executing their task efficiently. And 3. The psychological effects the firefighters go through due to these challenges, just to mention a few. Respect firefighters. They save lives and properties, whilst others are running away from the...
Okay, so we all saw the challenges that our plants had to go through they had to move at a snail pace in order to be able to get to the fire scene. And so you can't really blame them. And these appliances, we need to handle them like eggs. So when the roads are bad, you don't need to speed on them. So we ask that you bear with us, when we are responding to your fires. So let me remind you again that our phone lines are 050-960-8744. We are also very active on YouTube, on Facebook, and on GNFS Radio Online. We also will be reading some of your comments. Safe House Initiative, they've been a constant partner to us, and we say thank you very much. They said we did a very good job during the Koforidua Market fires. Well done. These are some of the messages we like to hear when we do well. Praise us when we don't. I won't say we don't do well, but whenever there's any shortfall, please let us know we are humans, and then we'll improve and serve you better. Sir, please, electricity power interferences has been one of the headaches of our men when they get to fire scene. Recently, personally, I did a video when a transformer was on fire at Sotum, where we're not condemning ECG, but we're just admonishing them to try and be a bit more responsive to us. How does the electricity interference affect our men during firefighting?
Right. Most of the times you go to an incident scene and the incident involves power supply. So when it happens like that, the power must be isolated from the item so that you can apply the appropriate extinguisher to extinguish the fire. So when it happens that way, we quickly inform the ECG to take the power off in the area. Unfortunately, sometimes it takes them a longer period to do that for us, which also affects our time of extinguishing the fire. So in this way, it is not that the fire service didn't get to the scene on time, the call came on time, the firefighters arrived on time, but the response from the ECG may not be that quick as we would like. And so we want to, they are a major partner when it comes to fire management. And so we continue to liaise with them to ensure that anytime we place a call, they shouldn't wait and say they want to get there first before they take the power out for us. Once we inform them, it means we need their quick response, and therefore they should take the power off for us. Once we are done with our firefighting, we'll get back to them for them to restore power to the area. And so this has been a hiccup. I won't say it's a challenge. It's just a hiccup that we need for them to understand so that as quickly as possible, anytime we get in touch with them, they will be able to isolate the area for us to quickly douse the fire.
We've had situations where when we get to the scene and our men are waiting on ECG to cut power supply to the area, there's been times we explain to them that we are waiting on ECG to cut supply, and they ask, can't we take out the power ourselves, without ECG?
Right. There are two situations. If the equipment involves ECG facility, that one is a direct power coming to the facility. And so ECG themselves will have to take off the power for us. But if it is a private property, like a residential area, then we have the tools to isolate the house or the premises from electricity. However, because we don't have modern equipment.
Sir, please, if you can hold on, there's a caller on the line. We cherish their calls. Hello, caller.
Hello.
Hi, thank you for joining us.
Good afternoon.
Hello, good afternoon. Your name and where you're calling from, please.
Please, I'm Mavis Bavak from Mamobi.
Okay, thank you. We are listening to you,
Yes.
Mavis.
I've really been following your program,
Okay.
and I really enjoy them.
Thank you very much.
Yes, so I want to recommend you to keep it on.
Thank you very much. Thank you very
You're
much.
welcome.
And please tell your relatives, your friends, everybody that they should tune in to Ghana National Fire Service and understand us more. Maybe thank you very much for joining us, and we do value
You are
your
welcome.
call.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much. Yes, sir.
So, like I indicated, before you also cut off the power or isolate the power, you must ensure that you are using the appropriate tool. Now, the tools that we have an expiry period. All that we have in the system now are expired. So you cannot risk the firefighter's life and say that the expired tool should be used to isolate the premises from electricity. That is why most often in recent times you see as that whether it is an ECG facility or it's a private facility, we wait for the ECG to isolate the place first. In recent past, we have also experienced situations where you may take the power off from the top, but you may have other power going underground, coming into the building. When it happens like that, you may be electrocuted because we may think that we have taken the power out, and therefore we use water to do the firefighting. And water and light, they don't meet. Once that is done, you are sure that you are going to get electrocuted. That is why, to be on the side of caution, we wait for the ECG to take off power from the area for us.
Thank you very much, sir. We have a video to further buttress the point that our director just made in relation to the electricity power, especially when it comes to transformers. Let's watch a video to further buttress this, and we'll come back again to further the discussion. National Fire Service page. This is Edio Wun Alex King Nati coming to you live from Sotum, the Heavens Church Road, where our dexterous crew from Anya at the location trying to put out a fire involving a transformer. We don't normally do live like this when it comes to transformers, but this is just to highlight one of the challenges that we normally experience when it comes to prompt response from the ECG. It's been over 15 to 20 minutes now since our crew are here ready to fight. The fires can be seen, the hose has been laid, the appliance packed, all geared up to fight the fire. But for a while now, we are waiting on ECG to cut power supply to the area before our men are able to apply water on it. This and many more challenges are some of the things that our men face, because as of now they are just still trying to get through for ECG to cut power supply, and it's been well over 15 minutes now and we are still waiting on them to cut power supply. So we'll call on stakeholders, especially ECG, to be much more responsive to the Ghana National Fire Service in terms of support and in terms of assistance, because invariably this is their property and we are doing our best to help save their property. So the lack of prompt response from them ends up becoming a big challenge for us as a service. So as can be seen, the transformer is still burning and the men are very much geared up, all in their helmets and their protective gears, ready to fight the fire. Immediately power supply is cut to the area, but the unfortunate incidents of lack of ECG personnel here or response from them is a problem. we are hoping that we will hear from them soon, so we'll be able to we'll be able to start firefighting. So as I mentioned, though this is not a regular live that we normally do, because it's just a transformer fire, there are untold stories about some of the challenges we go through when it comes to response by the ECG, especially fires involving the electrical installations. And this is one of the challenges we deal. As can be seen, the vehicle is there, ready to fight the fire. Our men are also ready with their hose. So I guess the video says it all. The video says it all. It's giving us a better understanding of what our boss was saying, that when it comes to fires involving transformers, sometimes these cables pass underground, and we can't just possibly cut the power supply ourselves without the intervention or the help of the Ghana Electricity Company of Ghana. We'll acknowledge some of the messages that have come through. Ibianas, thank you very much. Pascal, it's another follow of the Fire Service Facebook page. Thank you very much. Odeshe Kweku, thank you. Patrick Ajoke, thank you very much for the words of encouragement. Okanta Bright, good inside GNFS. Thank you very much for that. Nana Chei, Chuck General, James Calculus, Makion, Nana Kwisi, Black Caribbean. We thank you all very much for the messages. Sir, would Safe House, one of our key partners, have also sent a message, and I'm sure many people would want to know this, that if, can they raise a concern or report when they see someone putting up a structure on a fire hydrant?
Yes, it is advisable to ask the person to stop or report to the nearest fire station for the appropriate action to be taken. Once you report to the fire station, we will take action to ensure that that structure is taken off. Most of the time we do it in collaboration with the district assembly, whose responsibility it is for structures to come up in their various areas of jurisdiction. And so this is the action that's supposed to be taken if you are in an area. Be a citizen by ensuring that nobody puts any obstacle on the fire hydrant. Once an obstacle is put on the fire hydrant, it means all of you in that area are at risk. When an emergency occurs and the fire service gets there, because that structure is built on the fire hydrant, the fire service cannot pick water from the area. And mind you, because we don't have adequate fire hydrants in the system, that might be the only fire hydrant in the whole community. And therefore, the fire service will have to travel long distances to go and replenish before coming back to continue with the firefighting. Anyway, you also be aware that for now, every fire station has just one fire tender. And so if that one fire tender is fighting fire and it has to stop and move to long distances to go and look for fire before coming back, then by the time they come back, the property might as well be completely destroyed.
Okay, so as the accounts would say, opening Jariria Nancy Asa. So this has been very insightful, and it's been very educative. Personally, as an fire officer, it's been a very good refresher course, and also to the civilians watching, I'm sure this would be a very great insight. Thank you very much for your words of wisdom, and thank you also to you, our followers, for joining us live on our TV station, also on YouTube and on Facebook, and on gnfsradio.com. We very much appreciate you, and please make a date with us next time. And please do tell your friends, your family, and everyone that this is a place of wisdom where they can learn more about the modus operandi of the Ghana National Fire Service. This has been Eddie Ogun, Alex Kignati, sitting in for our regular host, DO3 Desmond Aka. Please join us again, same time next week. Have a good week.
Hello, please, good morning. Is it a fire service station? Yes, please. How may I help you?
No, now I go shower when the family man never.
It's a fire campaign going on, cause too much fire outbreaks in our town. Brother, sister, if you wanna live so long, open up your ears and listen as we preach on. A son of fire service, bedi aboyeno, ejemi nkabuniwara. Acha siamo nofo, tuwani yodo banko chofo pepe sewara. Kanya kaya tema habo, Good Friday, benia de Sancho akela.
Tema Newtown Circle, Lord, I ain't quit the
Kleminaka de Sangana.
Kumasi Central Market Atomic Junction, Wajan Nankoni Mutani na Mutua. Tema Central Medical Source Yakoni, Wanga Yazampo Yabakoa. Ashima Nyongo Megadanu, Lashiama Namidanu, Lashiama, Ashiama Cholaga.
Illegal connection taking place in our homes is a major factor of fire outbreak. Prolonged using of appliance is a major factor of fire outbreak. So it's a fire service.
Oja, Oja.
Charging of phones and other gadgets overnight.
Oja, Oja.
Improper disposal of cigarettes after smoking.
Oja, Oja.
Putting candles and coals on the wooden table.
Oja, Oja.
Fire engines no yati yasiye. Yenga wai wala he. Ya mama yuko ne juma pa muye. For protecting our properties. Fire service for nyina ya damasi. Click tick wall. Fire service mabo modin pass baby shina ya frama munya ya azam. Enti asidan koma munyina. If it's a move fire prevention campaign. Fire service for nyina mi mama mo. Adigato youth preacher. Ukrani yobishi omuyi laita uma eba no sasua ebebeja ko sanjo eyoshi odogba ekoni overloading of sockets su eyebia sani wale ake wa be fakra no yo femo mna minke fire service in twanya jafi yenha adesa wala so me fire service
Oja
charging of phones and other gadgets overnight.
Oja
Improper disposal of cigarettes after smoking.
Oja
Putting candles and coals on the wooden table.
Oja. Yeah man, I'm urging all Ghanaians to be very careful. But fire kills and destroys, especially farmers, palm tappers, fishmongers, hunters, market women, top bar operators.
These are the preventive measures, brother and sister, you must remember. These are the preventive measures, mother and father, you have to remember.
Yeah man, create a fire belt by weeding around your homes and factories. Cylinders should be placed outside your kitchen if possible. Keep fire hydrants, fire extinguishers, fire alarm, etc. in a reliable working condition. Keep matches out of the reach of children. In case of fire outbreak, call the fire master control room on these numbers: 030-277-2446, 0299-340883.
Firefighting is free, my fellow Ghanaians, please note that, yeah.
National headquarters, 030-277-2446. And for further information, call 0278-748177.
In case of emergency, call 192. It's a fire service.
Oja
Charging of phones and other gadgets overnight.
Oja
Improper disposal of cigarettes after smoking.
Oja
Putting candles and coals on the wooden table.